The gentle rhythm of trimming dog fur had replaced the precise movements of dissecting marine specimens 20 years ago, but Dr. Sarah Sam Mitchell still approached each grooming session with the scientific methodology that had once made her discoveries about deep sea ecosystems groundbreaking in marine biology. Stan, 67, sat in the second row of the Tonight Show studio, her scientist's eyes automatically observing behavioral patterns in the audience, while her steady hands moved in unconscious specimen handling motions on her lap. The small Paws and Claws Pet Grooming 20 Years Excellence patch on her grooming smock caught the studio lights as she adjusted her position with the precise movements of someone who had spent decades working with living creatures that required patient, careful handling. To the hundreds of pet owners whose dogs and cats Sam had groomed over 2 decades, she was just another skilled animal care professional who somehow understood pet behavior better than most veterinarians and had an unusual ability to calm even the most anxious animals. What they didn't know was that their pets were being cared for by a woman who had discovered 3 new species of deep-sea fish and published groundbreaking research on coral reef ecosystems. What Sam didn't know was that her story had been quietly circulating among marine science communities after a former graduate student had recognized her in a local pet care magazine feature about dedicated groomers who go above and beyond. The photo had caught the attention of marine biologists who remembered Dr. Sarah Mitchell as one of the most promising oceanographers of the 1980s and 1990s before she mysteriously disappeared from academic conferences and research publications. Sam's story had begun with a fascination for ocean life that had driven her through the rigorous world of marine science and academic research. Born in coastal Maine to parents who ran a small fishing operation, Sam had shown an early passion for understanding sea creatures, spending her childhood studying tide pools and dreaming of exploring the deep ocean to discover species that had never been documented by science. After earning her PhD in marine biology from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution in 1985, Sam had specialized in deep-sea ecosystem research, drawn to the mysterious world thousands of feet below the ocean's surface, where bizarre creatures had evolved to survive in conditions that seemed impossible for life. Her research had required months at sea aboard research vessels, using submersibles and remote cameras to document life forms that existed in complete darkness under crushing pressure. Over 15 years, Dr. Sarah Mitchell had become one of the most respected marine biologists in the field. She'd led expeditions that discovered new species of bioluminescent fish, published papers that changed how scientists understood deep-sea food chains, and received NSF grants that had funded groundbreaking research into how climate change was affecting deep ocean ecosystems. Her 1998 paper, Biodiversity Patterns in Abyssal Plain Community, had been cited by researchers worldwide and established her as a leading authority on deep-sea life. Before then, but marine science had faced massive funding cuts in the early 2000s. Federal research budgets had been slashed, and universities had eliminated marine biology positions to focus resources on more commercially viable research. Sam, despite her publications and reputation, had found herself unable to secure the grants needed to continue her deep-sea research, and academic positions had become scarce for scientists specializing in basic research rather than applied commercial applications. The pet grooming business had started as temporary work in 2004 while Sam figured out how to continue her scientific career. But 20 years later, she'd discovered unexpected satisfaction in working with animals on a personal level, applying the same careful observation skills that had made her a great researcher to understanding individual pet behavior and health needs. The Tonight Show tickets had been a surprise gift from her regular customers, pet owners who had appreciated not just Sam's grooming skills, but her obvious deep understanding of animal physiology and behavior that went far beyond typical pet care knowledge. It was a Wednesday night taping in October, and Jimmy was in good spirits after interviewing a nature documentary filmmaker about his new ocean exploration series. During his commercial break interaction with the audience, his attention was drawn to Sam by her scientific way of observing everything around her and the gentle precision with which she moved. Ma'am, you have a very observational way of looking at things. Are you in a scientific field? Sam straightened with the practiced posture of someone who had spent decades giving research presentations. Pet groomer, sir. I run Paws and Claws Pet Grooming here in the city. Been taking care of dogs and cats for 20 years. A warm murmur went through the nearby audience members. Pet groomers provided important services for animal health and comfort, and 20 years of dedicated animal care deserved recognition. 20 years of pet grooming. You must really understand animal behavior and health. Sam's face lit up with genuine enthusiasm for animal welfare. Oh, yes, every animal has its own personality, its own health indicators, its own stress responses. You learn to read subtle behavioral cues, observe changes in coat condition, notice signs that might indicate health issues that owners should discuss with veterinarians. You talk about animal observation like scientific research, very systematic approach to understanding behavior. Well, careful observation is essential when working with any living creatures, whether you're studying animal behavior in controlled conditions or working with pets in grooming situations. The principles of scientific observation are the same. Jimmy noticed something in Sam's language, a research-oriented sophistication that suggested formal scientific training beyond typical pet care experience. Sam, have you always worked in pet grooming? You seem to have scientific training in animal behavior. Sam paused, as if deciding how much of her background to reveal. Actually, I used to work in marine science before I started grooming pets, research biology specifically. I studied ocean ecosystems, deep sea life, marine animal behavior. The mention of marine research caught the audience's attention immediately. Marine biology was one of the most fascinating and prestigious scientific fields. You were a marine biologist? Sam, that's incredible. What kind of research did you do? Deep sea ecosystem research, primarily. I studied life forms that exist thousands of feet below the ocean surface, bioluminescent fish, deep water coral communities, creatures that have adapted to survive in complete darkness under extreme pressure. Jimmy's curiosity was immediately piqued. Deep sea marine research was cutting-edge science that few people ever got to experience, and someone with that background, grooming pets, suggested a dramatic career change. Jimmy made a decision that would change everything. Sam, deep sea marine research is fascinating science. Would you mind coming down here and telling us about your research career? Sam looked uncertain. Oh, I don't think people want to hear about old oceanography stories. That work was very technical, probably not interesting for general audiences. Trust me, people definitely want to hear about ocean exploration. Come on down. As Sam made her way to the stage with the careful, observant movement of someone who had spent years working with delicate living specimens, her bearing transformed completely. The confident presence of someone who had once presented groundbreaking research to international scientific conferences. When she reached the stage, Jimmy guided her to a comfortable chair. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy announced, this is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. For 20 years, she's been grooming pets at Paws and Claws, but before that, she spent 15 years as a marine biologist exploring the deepest parts of our oceans. Sam, tell us about your research career. Sam settled into the chair, and when she spoke about marine science, her voice took on the passion and precision of someone who had dedicated her life to understanding one of Earth's most mysterious environments. Deep sea research is about exploring the last frontier on our planet. The deep ocean is less mapped than the surface of Mars, and the creatures that live there have evolved to survive in conditions that seem impossible. No sunlight, crushing pressure, near freezing temperatures, very little food. The audience was completely quiet, understanding they were hearing about one of science's most adventurous fields. What kinds of discoveries did you make? Sam's eyes lit up with memories of her most exciting research. I discovered 3 new species of bioluminescent fish during expeditions to the Mariana Trench. These creatures create their own light through chemical reactions, using it to communicate, hunt, and avoid predators in complete darkness. Each species had evolved unique light patterns that we'd never documented before. You discovered new species? That's incredible. How do you find new fish in the deep ocean? months at sea aboard research vessels using submersibles that can withstand the pressure thousands of feet below the surface. You're essentially exploring alien worlds, volcanic vents where water reaches 700 degrees, underwater mountains covered with coral gardens, abyssal plains where creatures have evolved in isolation for millions of years. Jimmy reached behind his chair and pulled out a tablet loaded with scientific journals and marine research databases. Sam, we did some research before tonight's show. He showed Sam archived research papers and scientific publications. According to marine science journals, Dr. Sarah Mitchell published groundbreaking research on deep sea biodiversity and discovered multiple new species. Sam looked stunned. You found my research publications? We did. Listen to this from a 1998 Nature article. Mitchell's research on abyssal plain ecosystems represents a paradigm shift in understanding deep sea biodiversity patterns. Her discoveries challenge fundamental assumptions about life in Earth's most extreme environments. The studio fell completely silent. The audience was processing that they were meeting someone whose scientific discoveries had changed how humanity understood ocean life. Sam, you are clearly successful as a marine biologist. What happened? Why did you leave ocean research? Sam's expression grew more reflective, touching on painful realities in scientific funding. Federal research budgets were cut dramatically in the early 2000s. Deep sea research is expensive. Research vessels, submersibles, months-long expeditions. Universities eliminated marine biology positions, and I couldn't secure the grants needed to continue my work. So you started grooming pets? I needed income while I figured out how to continue in marine science. But 20 years later, I discovered something unexpected. Working with individual animals, understanding their behavior and health needs, helping pet owners care for their companions. It's still biology, just applied differently. Jimmy leaned forward. But you never stopped being a scientist, did you? Sam smiled for the first time since taking the stage. You can't unlearn scientific observation and methodology. When I'm grooming pets, I notice behavioral changes that might indicate health issues, observe stress responses, understand animal psychology in ways that help me provide better care. Jimmy continued reading from the tablet. Sam, we found something else. Several marine research institutions have been trying to locate you for consulting work on deep sea exploration projects. Research institutions want to find me. Listen to this from the current director of Woods Hole. Dr. Sarah Mitchell's expertise in deep sea ecosystems is unmatched in our field. Her knowledge would be invaluable for current research into how climate change is affecting deep ocean environments. Jimmy stood and addressed the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman spent 15 years making groundbreaking discoveries about ocean life, then spent 20 years applying that same scientific dedication to caring for the pets that families love. He turned back to Sam. The scientific community wants to honor you. The American Association for the Advancement of Science wants to give you their award for scientific excellence, and several research institutions want to offer you consulting positions on current deep sea projects. Sam's eyes filled with tears. They want to honor my marine research. They may do. And son, there's something else. Your species discoveries are still being studied by marine biologists around the world, and your research methods are taught in graduate programs. Jimmy had one more surprise. We have someone here who wanted to meet you. From backstage, Dr. Sylvia Earle, the legendary oceanographer and National Geographic explorer in residence, appeared carrying a model of a deep-sea submersible. Sarah, Dr. Earle said, approaching with obvious respect, I've been following your research since the 1990s. Your discoveries in deep-sea biodiversity opened new frontiers in marine science. You're one of the pioneers who showed us how much we still don't know about our oceans. Sam was openly crying now, overwhelmed by recognition from one of oceanography's most celebrated figures. You know my research? Every serious marine biologist does. Your work on bioluminescent fish species helped us understand how life adapts to extreme environments. Your research is still cited in papers about deep sea evolution and climate change impacts. Jimmy sat back down beside Sam. Sam, you've spent 20 years thinking your scientific career was over, but what you really did was continue applying scientific methodology to animal care while your oceanographic discoveries continued advancing human knowledge about marine life. As they helped Sam back to her seat, she stopped and looked out at the audience one more time. Thank you for honoring my work, but I want young scientists to know science doesn't end when funding disappears or careers change. The curiosity and methodology that make you a good researcher can serve life in countless ways, whether you're studying deep sea fish or caring for someone's beloved pet. You're still contributing to our understanding of life. The episode that aired became one of the most inspiring Tonight Show segments ever, sparking conversations about scientific careers and the researchers working outside traditional academic institutions. Sam's story inspired several marine research organizations to create programs specifically for displaced scientists who wanted to return to research, recognizing that experienced knowledge couldn't be replaced by newer researchers alone. Her pet grooming business became an informal education center where she taught children about marine life and ocean conservation. Sam spent her retirement consulting on deep sea research projects while continuing to groom pets part-time, discovering that leaving academic marine biology hadn't ended her scientific contribution. It had expanded her impact to include both advancing ocean science and caring for the animals that brought joy to families' daily lives. At 69, Sam still observes everything with a scientist's trained eye, still believes that careful study improves understanding and care, and still carries her PhD diploma alongside her pet grooming certification. A reminder that true scientists never stop investigating the natural world, they just find new laboratories for their curiosity. Because sometimes the most important research happens not in university labs or aboard research vessels, but in ordinary places where former scientists continue applying their knowledge to improve life for the creatures, whether deep sea fish or beloved pets that depend on human understanding and care. Claude can make mistakes. Please double check responses.